ready to tackle the IELTS. Awesome. Whether it's studying abroad, a career boost, or just moving to a new country, a good IELTS score can open so many doors.
Yeah, a good score is really key.
And we're here to help you get there, way beyond just the usual tips.
Right.
We've got 15 expert strategies, all from the best resources out there, stuff that can really make a difference in how you prepare.
It's interesting because these strategies, they're not just like test-taking tricks, They actually build real English fluency, the kind that helps you even after the exam is over.
I love that. It's like you're investing in skills that'll benefit you for life.
Yeah, exactly.
So first up, and this might surprise you, it's not about grammar drills or cramming vocabulary. It's about really understanding what you're dealing with, the IELTS format itself.
That's so important. Knowing each section inside and out the other. Listening, reading, writing, and speaking can really calm your nerves on test day.
Makes sense.
Think of it like walking into a boxing ring without knowing the rules. You're going to get knocked out pretty fast.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But if you know what punches to expect, you can dodge, weave, and, come out on top.
Perfect analogy. And speaking of knowing what to expect, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the listening section.
Oh, the dreaded listening section.
And you only get to hear the recordings once. No rewind button in real life, right? This always freaks me out.
I hear you. It's definitely a unique challenge. A lot of people just listen passively, trying to just take in information as it comes at them. But imagine if you could become an active listener, predicting questions, focusing your attention strategically.
Okay, now you've got my attention. How do we do that? Just crank up the volume and hope for the best.
Not quite. Think about the multiple choice questions. A lot of times, the speaker will give you several options before revealing the correct answer.
Yeah.
If you're listening passively, it can really throw you off. But if you're actively listening, trying to guess the answers in advance, you're more likely to pick up on the cues and choose the right one.
So it's almost like you're a detective, looking for clues in what you hear.
Yes, exactly. Or think about note completion questions. If you're just listening for specific words, you could miss crucial information. But if you're trying to understand the overall message, you can fill in those gaps much more accurately.
I see. It's about using your brain to decode the audio, not just letting it wash over you.
Exactly. And this active listening thing, it's not just for the IELTS. It's a life skill, helpful for university lectures, business meetings, even just casual chats.
You're telling me I need all the help I can get. So we've tackled the listening beast, but let's not forget its equally scary cousin, the reading section.
Oh yeah, that one can be tough.
Ticking clock, dense passages, info overload. It can feel like drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah, overwhelming if you don't have the right approach. Imagine if, instead of reading every single word, you could just scan the text for the main idea, then zoom in on the details you need for the questions.
Okay, that sounds way less stressful. Are we talking speed reading here? Some secret technique I need to learn?
No secret handshake. It's not about reading faster. It's about reading smarter. Think of it like searching for a file on your computer.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
You wouldn't open every single document, right? You'd use keywords, filters to find what you need fast.
Right.
Skimming and scanning are like those keywords and filters, but for reading.
I like it how you're making this sound less scary. So how do I actually do this skimming and scanning in the IELTS reading?
Let's say there's a passage about the history of photography. If they ask about the year a specific invention was made, you don't have to read the whole thing.
You're kidding.
Just scan for dates, keywords about that invention, boom. You've saved yourself a ton of time.
That's brilliant. I never thought of it that way. And skimming, what's the trick there?
Skimming is like reading headlines in a newspaper. Just glance through the text, get a general idea, the topic, main points, the structure.
Okay.
Look for key phrases, topic sentences, any words that jump out. This gives you like a mental map of the passage, makes it easier to answer the questions.
So big picture first, then zero in on the details.
Exactly. And once you get good at this, you'll read more efficiently everywhere, not just the IELTS.
No kidding.
Think about research articles, news, those super long emails, you'll fly through them.
Okay, I need that superpower in my life. So we've got active listening, strategic reading. What's next on our IELTS prep list?
Before we even open a practice test or even think about vocabulary, let's talk about setting a target band score.
Okay, I gotta admit, when I was prepping for exams, this is what I'd always skip. I'd just be like, tell me what to study. But I'm sensing there's more to it.
There's a huge difference between just wanting to do well and having a specific goal in mind. It's like planning a road trip. You wouldn't just hop in the car and go, right.
Definitely not. I'd be lost in the middle of nowhere.
Right. You'd pick a destination, plan the route, figure out how long it'll take.
Makes sense.
Setting a target band score is like picking that destination for your IELTS journey. It gives you direction, helps you plan how to study, and lets you track your progress.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. But how do I even know what score to aim for? Just pick a random number?
Not exactly. It depends on your goals. Universities and immigration programs have different score requirements.
Ah, makes sense.
Some want an overall score of 7, some want 6.5 in writing or 7.5 in speaking. Do your research. Figure out what score you need to achieve your goals.
So it's like checking the entry requirements before you apply for anything.
Exactly. Once you know your target score, it's time to create a study plan, one that's completely unique to you. No more generic advice.
I love that. Personalization is key, right?
Yeah.
So how do we start building this plan? What's step one?
It all starts with a diagnostic test. It's like a checkup, but for your English skills.
A checkup. Interesting analogy.
Like how a doctor would run tests to see what's going on. A diagnostic test pinpoints your strengths and weaknesses in English. Maybe your listening is great, but your writing needs work.
So it's all about knowing where you excel and where you need to focus.
Exactly. No need to waste time on things you've already mastered. Instead, you can spend your precious study time on skills that need more attention.
Makes total sense. So after the diagnostic test, what then? Should I just lock myself in a library and cram vocabulary?
You don't need to cram vocabulary for hours.
Oh, thank goodness. I was getting a headache just thinking about it.
That's a surefire way to burn yourself out and not achieve success.
Right.
The key to vocabulary for IELTS is strategy, not just memorization. Think about the common themes that come up in the exam. Things like education, technology, the environment, social issues.
Okay.
Instead of learning every single word in the dictionary, focus on building vocabulary around these topics.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do you even do that without getting stuck in boring textbooks?
Think outside the box. Immerse yourself in real-world English. Read articles from sources like the BBC, The Guardian, National Geographic.
Okay, I can get behind that.
You'll naturally come across lots of IELTS vocabulary in context. And it's way more fun than just staring at word lists.
Now that's what I call a win-win, learning while actually enjoying it. But sometimes I read an article and it feels like I'm drowning in unfamiliar words.
That's where active reading comes in. Don't just skim over the text. Highlight those new words, look them up, write them down, even make flashcards.
So it's about making reading an interactive experience.
Exactly. And remember, context is king. Don't just memorize definitions. Try to use those words in your own sentences. Write short paragraphs, even record yourself speaking.
So the more I actively use them, the better I'll remember them.
Exactly. Language learning shouldn't be a chore, it should be fun. And that brings us to one of my favorite strategies, active listening. It's like a secret weapon for the IELTS, and for life in general, really.
Okay, now I'm really curious. What's so special about active listening? I mean, isn't listening just listening?
Most people think that listening is just passively absorbing sounds. But active listening, it's about engaging with what you're hearing, like you're part of the conversation, not just someone on the sidelines.
So instead of letting it go in one ear and out the other, I need to be actively involved.
Precisely. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how much easier it is to remember a story when you're really engaged? When you were asking questions, reacting to what you heard.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm just passively listening, it's like the information just evaporates.
And that's exactly what we want to avoid in the IELTS listening section. We need your brain to be like a sponge, soaking up every bit of information. And active listening is the key.
All right, I'm convinced, but how do we actually practice this active listening thing? Do I need to hire someone to chat with me all day?
That would be nice, but you don't have to go that far. There are tons of free resources that can help you become an active listening pro.
Oh, tell me more. What are these magical resources?
Podcasts. Find podcasts that interest you, whether it's science, history, news, pop culture, whatever you're into. Put on your headphones and really engage with what you're hearing. Take notes, try to summarize the main points, even predict what the speaker will say next.
So I can turn my commute or my workout into IELTS practice.
Exactly. And don't forget TED Talks. They're packed with great information, presented in a really engaging way. Watch them with subtitles first, then challenge yourself to listen without them.
That's a great tip. What about those times when I feel like I'm totally lost? Like I'm missing key info?
Don't panic. Just rewind and listen again. Focus on the tricky parts. You can even slow down the playback speed if you need to. It's all about training your ears to understand different accents, intonations, speaking styles.
Wow, I never realized how much there is to listening. It's not just hearing words, it's about really engaging with the speaker, analyzing what they're saying, and getting the meaning from the sounds.
That's the power of active listening. And the best part, it's a skill that helps you everywhere, not just in the IELTS.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm feeling much more confident about tackling that listening section. But what about the other big hurdle, time management? How do we conquer the clock in the IELTS? I always feel like I need an extra hour on any timed test.
Don't worry, you're not alone. Time management is a big challenge for a lot of test takers. But the good news is, it's a skill you can learn and master with the right strategies. It's a bit like training for a marathon. You wouldn't just wake up one day and expect to run 26 miles, right?
Definitely not. I'd probably collapse after the first mile.
Exactly. You'd gradually increase your mileage, build your endurance, learn to pace yourself.
Right.
Time management in the IELTS is the same idea.
So how do we apply this marathon training to the IELTS? Tell me everything.
First, you got to know the time limits for each section. The listening section is about 30 minutes, reading is 60 minutes, and so on. When you're practicing, set timers for each section to simulate the real test conditions. This will help you get used to the pressure and avoid those last-minute scrambles.
Okay, that makes sense.
But what happens when you get stuck on a question? Do you skip it or try to power through?
Yeah, that's always my dilemma.
That's where strategy comes in. Let's say you're in the reading section and there's a question that's just stumping you. Instead of wasting time on it, make a note and move on. You can always come back to it later if you have time.
So it's about being flexible, prioritizing the questions I feel good about.
Exactly. And another tip, get to know the different types of questions they ask in each section. Knowing what to expect can save you valuable time and energy. For example, in listening, you might have multiple choice questions, note completion tasks, or even diagram labeling.
Ah, I see. So the more I practice with the different question types, the faster I'll be able to find the key information and answer them.
Exactly. It's like learning the playbook for a game. The more you practice, the more instinctive your moves become. Speaking of practice, let's talk about one of the most powerful tools you have, practice tests.
Ah, yes, practice tests. Love-hate relationship with those. They let me see how I'm doing, but man, can they be nerve-wracking.
I totally understand. But think of practice tests as opportunities for growth, not just assessments. They're like dress rehearsals for the real thing. They help you pinpoint your weak spots, refine your strategies, build confidence.
Okay, that's a more positive way to think about it.
And it's totally normal to feel discouraged if you don't do as well as you hoped. But instead of letting those setbacks derail you, use them as fuel to push you forward. Every mistake is a chance to learn.
So it's not about getting a perfect score every time. It's about using those experiences to get better.
Exactly. Think of practice tests as your personal trainers, pushing you to reach your full potential. They show you where you need to work harder, what questions trip you up, what time management traps to avoid. And the best part, you can make all those mistakes in the comfort of your own home, without the pressure of the real exam.
I love how you're turning practice tests from something scary into valuable learning experiences. So how do we make the most of them? Should we just keep taking them until we get a perfect score?
That's one way, but not the most effective. The key is to analyze your mistakes. Don't just dismiss them as careless errors. Really dig in and try to understand why you got a question wrong.
So it's like being a detective, investigating my own mistakes.
I love that. Ask yourself, was it a vocabulary problem? Did I misunderstand the instructions? Did I run out of time? By figuring out the root cause of your errors, you can target your studying much more effectively.
That makes so much sense. It's like a personalized feedback loop helping me get better.
Exactly. And here's a pro tip. Keep track of your mistakes. Write down the question type, the topic, the reason you messed up, and any strategies you can use to avoid making the same mistake again.
So it's like building my own personalized study guide based on what I need to work on.
Precisely. And over time, you'll start to see patterns in your mistakes. Maybe you struggle with certain listening questions, or maybe you tend to make the same grammar errors in your writing. By noticing these patterns, you can really focus your energy where it matters most.
This is amazing. It's like you're giving me a blueprint for IELTS success. But let's be real, even with all the practice in the world, there's always that test day anxiety. How do we deal with those pre-exam jitters? I tend to get super nervous before anything important.
Test anxiety is completely normal. It's your body's way of reacting to a high-pressure situation. But the good news is, there are ways to manage those nerves and actually use that energy to your advantage.
Okay, I need all the help I can get with that. What are these magical strategies?
First things first, remember that you've prepared for this. You've put in the work, you've honed your skills, you've got the strategies down. Trust in your preparation and believe in yourself.
I know. Easier said than done. But yeah, it's about shifting my mindset from fear to confidence.
Exactly. And here's another powerful tool: mindfulness. Practice deep breathing exercises, meditation, even visualization techniques. These can really help calm your nerves, clear your mind, and bring you into the present moment.
So instead of spiraling into anxiety, I can focus on the here and now.
Exactly. And on test day, remind yourself, it's just one test. It doesn't define you. Do your best, stay focused, and celebrate how far you've come on your English language journey.
I love that perspective, taking the pressure off and focusing on the bigger picture.
Right. Remember, the examiners aren't looking for perfection. They want to see how well you communicate in English.
That's reassuring. So it's not about sounding exactly like a native speaker. It's about expressing myself clearly and confidently.
Precisely. One last tip for test day nerves. Visualize success. Picture yourself walking into the exam room feeling confident, answering the questions with ease, and leaving with a sense of accomplishment.
I like that, like making a movie in my head of myself succeeding.
Exactly. And the more you visualize it, the more likely it is to happen. Our thoughts have power, So choose to focus on positive, empowering thoughts that will support your success.
This is all so helpful. You've given me a toolkit not just for the IELTS, but for approaching any challenge with confidence and a good mindset.
That's what I love about these strategies. They go beyond the test. They're life skills to help you thrive.
Absolutely. And speaking of thriving, let's talk about a strategy that often gets overlooked: paraphrasing.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I always thought paraphrasing was just a fancy way of saying rewrite something.
It is, but it's also a powerful way to show off your language skills in the IELTS. Think about it. If you keep using the same words and phrases from the questions, it makes your vocabulary look limited.
Right.
Paraphrasing is like adding flavor to your language, showing the examiners that you can express yourself in different ways.
So it's like a chef who can take the same ingredients and make a bunch of different dishes.
You got it. Each dish with its own unique flavor. Paraphrasing is about finding that sweet spot, staying true to the original meaning while showing off your language skills. It's like explaining a complicated idea to a friend. You wouldn't use all the technical jargon from a textbook, right?
Oh, no way. That'd be totally lost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You'd use simpler language, maybe analogies, to make it easy to understand. Paraphrasing is the same idea. It's about finding different ways to express the same idea, using different vocabulary, grammar, and sentence structures.
So it's about proving to the examiners that I really understand the language and can use it in different ways.
Exactly. And the more you practice paraphrasing, the more natural it becomes. You'll start seeing connections between words and ideas that you never noticed before.
I'm starting to see how powerful paraphrasing can be, but where can I practice it? Do I need to hire a professional editor to look at everything I write?
You don't need a pro, although feedback is always good. There are lots of free resources online, paraphrasing tools, exercises, all that stuff.
That's awesome. So I can make it into a fun game.
Exactly. And practice, practice, practice. Take sentences from articles, practice questions, even just everyday conversations. Try rephrasing them, using different words and sentences.
So make paraphrasing a habit, like a way of flexing my language muscles in everyday life.
You got it. And the more you practice, the more confident you'll become in expressing yourself clearly, accurately, and with a little style.
I love that. Style points are always a bonus.
Right.
This is all so incredibly helpful. I'm seeing the IELTS in a whole new light now. It's not just about memorizing rules, it's about really understanding the language and using it in creative and effective ways.
That's the beauty of learning a language. It's a journey of discovery, a constant process of growing and expanding your abilities.
I love that. Speaking of growth and expansion, let's talk about a strategy that can really take your IELTS prep to the next level: seeking feedback.
Feedback is crucial.
This is where I get a little nervous, honestly. I'm not great at asking for feedback. It feels so vulnerable, like opening myself up to criticism.
I totally get it. Asking for feedback can definitely feel scary, like you're putting yourself out there to be judged. But here's a different way to think about it. Feedback isn't a judgment on you personally. It's more like a spotlight showing you the way to improve.
Oh, I like that. So it's not about me, it's about the work itself.
Exactly. It's about separating your ego from the feedback and seeing it as a chance to grow. And you get to choose who you ask for feedback. Find someone who's supportive, constructive, and really wants you to succeed.
So it's like finding a mentor, someone who can guide me and give me valuable advice.
Exactly. And don't be shy about asking for specific feedback. Maybe you're having trouble with verb tenses in your writing, or you're not sure if your pronunciation is clear enough. Be upfront about what you need feedback on, and you'll get advice that's more targeted and helpful.
So it's about taking control of the feedback process, being proactive, and knowing what I need.
Exactly. And one more thing. You don't have to take every single piece of advice you get. Choose what feels right for you, what matches your learning style, and what helps you reach your IELTS goals. You're the one in charge.
I love that, being selective and taking ownership of my learning.
Exactly. And finally, this one can't be stressed enough. Simulate test conditions.
Okay, this sounds intense. Are we talking about building a replica of the test center in my living room?
Not quite. But the closer you can get to the real test environment, the more prepared you'll be on the big day.
So like a dress rehearsal.
Exactly. Find a quiet spot, no distractions, get all your supplies ready. Pencils, erasers, a watch, even official IELTS answer sheets. You can download those online.
Okay, I can handle that.
Set a timer for each section and stick to it no matter what. This will help you build stamina, develop a sense of urgency, and avoid those last-minute freakouts.
So it's like training my brain to work well under pressure.
Exactly. And don't forget those little details that can make a big difference.
Ooh, like what? Tell me.
Think about the physical environment. Make sure the room is well lit and has good airflow. Wear comfy clothes. And avoid eating a big meal before the test. It can make you feel sluggish.
So it's about taking care of my mind and body, setting myself up for success.
Exactly. And one last tip. Get familiar with the instructions for each section beforehand. This will save you time on test day and help you feel less anxious.
Okay, I'm definitely feeling more confident about taking the IELTS now. You've given me a roadmap, a toolkit, and a pep talk all in one.
That's what we aim for. Remember, success on the IELTS isn't just about the score you get. It's about opening doors, expanding your horizons, and chasing your dreams.
I love that. So well said. And I'm feeling totally inspired and ready to take on this challenge. But before we move on, let's quickly recap all the awesome strategies we've talked about today.
That sounds good. Let's refresh our memories and make sure these strategies stick.
First up, we talked about knowing the IELTS test format inside and out. It's like knowing the rules of the game before you start playing.
Yeah, that's essential.
Right. And then we talked about the importance of setting a target band score. It's like choosing your destination so you know where you're headed.
Exactly.
And then we dove into building a personalized study plan. It's not about one-size-fits-all advice. It's about figuring out your strengths and weaknesses and using your time wisely.
And remember, breaks are key. Give your brain a chance to rest and process information.
Right. It's all about working smarter, not harder.
Definitely.
And then, of course, we had to tackle the vocabulary beast. But instead of just memorizing endless lists, we talked about strategic ways to build your vocabulary, focusing on words related to common IELTS themes.
And remember to immerse yourself in real-world English. Read articles, watch documentaries, engage with things that interest you. Learning should be an adventure.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about active listening. It's not just for the IELTS. It's a skill that will help you throughout your life.
So true.
It's all about turning passive listening into an active mental exercise, training your ears to understand different accents and speaking styles.
Yeah, think of it as a workout for your ears.
And then for the reading section, we emphasize skimming and scanning. It's like using keywords and filters to find the information you need quickly and efficiently.
Makes all the difference.
And when it comes to the writing section, structure is key, both for the data summaries and the essays.
Think about using clear language, organizing your ideas logically, making it easy for the examiner to follow your thought process.
Then we talked about the speaking test and how to boost your confidence, manage your nerves, and focus on communicating effectively.
Remember, practice makes perfect. The more you speak, the more comfortable you'll become. And don't be afraid to pause or hesitate. It's okay to take a moment to gather your thoughts.
And then we talked about the importance of practice tests, but not just as a way to test yourself. They're a valuable tool for learning and improving.
Exactly. Use them to figure out your weak spots, refine your strategies, and build your confidence. Analyze your mistakes, learn from them, and turn those setbacks into stepping stones.
And of course, we talked about time management, which is so important for any time test, especially the IELTS.
Yeah, it's crucial.
Practice pacing yourself so you can allocate your time wisely on test day. It's like training for a marathon. You need to build up your stamina and learn to pace yourself.
Great analogy. And remember to pay attention to the details.
Right. Those little things can make a big difference.
Double-check your answers. Proofread your writing carefully. Even small errors can cost you points, so it's important to be mindful and meticulous.
And then we uncovered the power of paraphrasing. It's a fantastic way to show off your language skills and impress the examiners with your flexibility and creativity.
It's like being a chef. You can create so many different dishes with the same ingredients.
And finally, we discussed some strategies for managing test day anxiety, like mindfulness, deep breathing, and visualization.
Remember, it's just one test, and it doesn't define you as a person. Do your best, stay focused, and be proud of yourself for coming this far.
I love that. So inspiring and empowering.
It's about focusing on the positive and believing in yourself.
Right. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. There are so many resources, communities, and people out there who can support you. So don't be afraid to ask for help, share your experiences, and celebrate your successes along the way.
That's so important. Community and support make a huge difference.
Absolutely. All right, so that was a whirlwind tour of 15 amazing strategies for IELTS success. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pumped up and ready to conquer the world.
Me too. I hope everyone listening feels the same way.
I'm sure they do. We've covered so much ground, from the nitty-gritty details of test taking to the bigger picture of what it means to learn a language and embrace a new culture.
It's been a great conversation.
It really has. And you know what? I think we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore when it comes to the IELTS, to language learning, to personal growth.
Definitely, this is just the beginning.
And that's what makes it so exciting. So for everyone listening, stay tuned for part 2 of this deep dive, where we'll be delving even deeper into some of these strategies and uncovering even more gems to help you rock the IELTS and achieve your dreams.
Can't wait. We'll be back soon with more tips, insights, and inspiration.
All right, see you then.
It really is all about having the right mindset.
So true. It's like you're giving everyone listening permission to be nervous, to mess up, to just be human.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone makes mistakes.
But let's not forget about getting feedback. I know for me, that's always been a tough one.
Oh, yeah.
I'd much rather just, hide my work than have someone critique it.
I get it. Asking for feedback can feel really, really vulnerable.
Totally.
It's like you're opening yourself up to judgment.
Yeah, it can be scary.
But here's a different way to think about it. Feedback isn't a judgment on you personally. It's more like a spotlight showing you the way to get better.
Ooh, I like that. So it's not about me, it's about the work itself.
Exactly. It's about separating your ego from the feedback and seeing it as a chance to grow. And you get to choose who you ask for feedback, Find someone who's supportive, constructive, someone who really wants you to succeed.
So it's like finding a mentor, someone who can guide you and give you good advice.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for specific feedback. Maybe you're struggling with verb tenses in your writing, or you're not sure if your pronunciation is clear.
Right.
Be clear about what you want feedback on, and you'll get advice that's more targeted and helpful.
So it's all about being proactive, taking charge of the process.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to take every piece of advice you get. Just take what works for you, what matches your learning style, what helps you reach your IELTS goals. Right. You're in the driver's seat.
I love that. Being selective and owning my learning journey.
Exactly.
Okay.
And finally, we can't stress this enough, simulating test conditions.
Okay. This is where it gets real, right? No more comfy pajamas and endless coffee.
Exactly. You got to create an environment that's as close to the real test as possible.
Right.
Find a quiet spot, no distractions, get all your stuff together. Pencils, erasers, a watch, even official IELTS answer sheets.
Yeah.
You can download those online.
Okay.
Set a timer for each section and stick to it no matter what. This helps you build stamina, develop a sense of urgency, and avoid those last-minute panics.
So basically, train my mind and body to perform under pressure.
Perfect analogy. And the more you practice like this, the less scary the real exam will feel.
This has been so incredibly insightful. We've gone way beyond the typical advice and found all these strategies that can really change how people prepare for the IELTS.
Absolutely. It's about going deeper.
And I hope everyone listening feels equipped and ready to conquer the IELTS.
Me too. It's all about empowering people to achieve their goals.
I know I do. But before we wrap up, I want to go back to something you said earlier about the IELTS being more than just a test.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's about opening doors, broadening your horizons, pursuing dreams.
It's so true. I've seen firsthand how a good IELTS score can open up amazing opportunities. I've had students go on to study at top universities, land their dream jobs, even move to new countries.
Wow, that's incredible. It's a good reminder that this is about so much more than just a score. It's about personal growth, expanding your world,
Exactly.
connecting with the world in a deeper way.
Exactly. And as we wrap up, I want to leave everyone with a challenge.
A challenge. I like it. Tell me more.
As you continue your IELTS prep, don't just focus on the technical stuff.
Yup.
Think bigger. What are your dreams? What do you want to achieve with this qualification?
That's such a good point. It's about connecting your language learning to a bigger purpose.
Exactly. And here's another challenge. Enjoy the process. Don't get discouraged by setbacks or compare yourself to others.
Yeah.
Celebrate your progress, no matter how small.
Right. Celebrate those little wins.
Every step forward is a victory.
I love that. It's easy to get caught up in the pressure of getting a certain score.
Right, but it's the journey that matters.
But the real reward is the growth you experience along the way.
Exactly. And as you go on this journey, remember, you're not alone. There are tons of resources, communities, people who are there to support you. Don't hesitate to ask for help, ask questions, connect with others.
It's like we're all in this together.
Exactly. Language learning is a team sport.
I love that. It's a reminder that we're all connected, all striving to learn and grow.
And on that note, I want to thank everyone for joining us on this deep dive into IELTS prep. We hope you found it helpful and inspiring.
I know I have. And I hope everyone listening feels like they have the tools and the mindset to conquer the IELTS and achieve their dreams.
That's the goal. We're cheering everyone on every step of the way.
But before we say goodbye, I want to leave you with one final thought.
A final thought. What is it?
As you continue on your IELTS journey, remember that language is more than just rules and formulas.
Yeah, it's so much
It's a way to connect, to express yourself, to be creative, embrace the beauty and the power of the English language, and let it open up a world and possibilities for you.
Beautifully said. And on that inspiring note, we'll wrap up this episode of the Deep Dive.
Thanks for joining us. Remember, you've got this.
We'll be back soon with more deep dives into all sorts of fascinating topics.
Stay tuned. That was a great way to put it. Language as connection, expression, creativity. It's so easy to get stuck on the technical stuff when you're learning, but in the end, it's about using those skills to really communicate, share ideas, bridge cultures, all that.
And the IELTS itself, it kind of reflects that shift now,
In what way?
It's not just about memorizing things anymore. It's about showing you can actually use English in real-life situations, understand the nuances, express yourself well.
And that's what makes all this prep so worthwhile, right?
Absolutely.
It's not just about passing a test, it's about building skills you can use everywhere.
Couldn't agree more. I've seen students who, at first, really struggled with the IELTS. But through hard work and dedication, they not only got the scores they needed, but they actually changed their whole relationship with English.
Wow, that's amazing.
They discovered a love for reading, for writing, for talking with people from different backgrounds. That, to me, is true success.
That's so inspiring. It reminds me that language learning isn't just about, stuffing your head with facts. It's about expanding your world, seeing things from new perspectives, and making those human connections.
Absolutely. That's why I always ask my students this question. What excites you most about learning English? What doors do you hope it will open?
Ooh, good question. For me, when I was learning a new language, what kept me going was this idea that I could travel to a new country and actually connect with the locals, Not just be a tourist, but someone who could understand their culture.
I love that. It's about going deeper, beyond the surface level, and using language to get to the heart of a culture.
Exactly.
And sometimes the answers to those questions can be surprising. I had a student who, at first, was just focused on getting ahead in his career. But as he learned more English, he found this passion for writing poetry.
No way.
Started going to open mic nights, sharing his work, found a whole new community.
Wow, that's amazing. It just shows how language learning can lead you in directions you never expected.
It's true. That's what makes this journey so exciting. You just never know where it might take you, what doors it might open.
It's an adventure. So for everyone listening, I encourage you to think about those questions too. What excites you about learning English? What are you hoping to achieve? Let those answers be your motivation.
Yeah, let them guide you.
Keep you going even when things get tough.
And remember, you're not alone. There are so many resources, communities, people who are there to support you.
All right, we're all in this together.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. Ask questions. Celebrate your progress.
It's a team effort. All right, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into these 15 strategies for improving your IELTS score. We've covered a lot, from the practical test-taking tips to the bigger picture of language learning.
It's been a great conversation.
It really has, and I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
So much more to explore.
There's so much more to discover about the IELTS, about language learning, about personal growth.
It's a lifelong journey.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so exciting. So for everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Keep practicing, keep learning, and keep believing in yourself.
You've got this.
And remember, the world is waiting to hear your voice. Until next time, happy learning.